Hey, storytellers! Before we start today's episode, we have something exciting to share. The Storyteller Shelf Summit is almost here. A full week of virtual mini masterclasses to help you grow as a writer, an illustrator, or an educator in children's literature. We are also offering an exclusive pitch event with literary agent Saron Harvey, giving you a rare chance to get your work in front of an agent. To participate, you'll need to purchase both the summit ticket and the separate pitch ticket. Click the link in the description. We can't wait to see you at the summit. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Storyteller Shelf podcast. It is Jackie and Teresa, and we are back once again with another really exciting episode. This one is called Right for the Right Audience, and I'm sure you heard the wordplay there. We have brought with us an extremely accomplished author here to talk to you. Harshita, can you introduce yourself to our listeners?
Hello and namaste, everybody. I am Harshita Jerath, and I'm very excited to be here on this podcast. So, thank you, Jackie and Teresa. I write books for children, but it wasn't always like this. I did not think writing as my profession growing up. I used to maintain a journal, and that is what I did for writing at that time. I did not pursue writing as a career. I was a healthcare business analyst, and only when I took a break from my corporate career, you can call it raising the kids break, and I surrounded them with lots of books. I took them to library, and at that time, that's when the desire to write again rekindled. And what I did at that time was a very big step, I would say, because I started a blog. That was the first time I opened myself up to the public, my writing. So I shared my writing for others at that time. That was the first big step. And then second big step happened when my husband, he gifted me a writing course, writing for children. It was a Groupon gift. That got me all excited. That got me started. And that was the beginning of my writing journey. And that's when I realized that I wanted to learn more and I started taking courses. I explored the community in Arizona because that's where I live. I found out about SCBWI organizations. I found out about other social media groups. I found out about the importance of forming a critique group. And from there on, the conferences, the classes, I kept going on. I found my agent, and now I have 3 books.
Since you've written both picture books and leveled readers, which obviously they have two different structures, right? And different purposes, can you break down any kind of key differences between the two and what make them unique?
Yes. See, picture books by design, they are to be read to the children by an adult. An adult reads it to the children. That's how the picture books are designed. It does not mean that children don't read it on their own or they can't read it on their own, but by design, that's how picture books are. So you would see some complicated words in it. The storyline can be a little bit complex. The conflict can be a little bit complex as compared to early readers, the level readers. So, because level readers are designed for children to read on their own. That is supposed to be their first book. It's there to build confidence in their reading. Another key difference is they both are picture books. There are pictures in both the books. However, in early readers, the illustrations offer clue to the text that the child is reading so that it amplifies their confidence in reading. So that's the main idea about early reader. And the plot is a lot simpler, very few words on a page, and it is governed by bunch of rules. So those are the 3 differences. Did I say 3? So the illustration, the plot structure, the use of words, complex word.
That was a wonderful explanation. And with that being said, let's talk nitty gritties for a second. Let's go into the details for you as an author. How does your writing process change when you're approaching leveled reader versus picture book?
Oh, that's a great question. My writing does change because it has to include all these aspects. For early reader or picture books, I keep my audience in front of me while writing. So for early readers, I use a lot simpler vocabulary for first. Then the conflict in the plot is not that complex. It is pretty simple. Then the third thing, which is very important, is that early readers generally happen in sequence. There are series to it. So when I'm thinking stories for early reader, I try to come up with the stories that I can expand on. There can be another book that can come out of it. So while I'm doing picture books, it would really help to have a series, but it can be just a story on its own. But in early readers, I try that, okay, if the publisher likes it, then can there be another book related to that story, that plot, or that character?
So, writing for children means writing for children. We're all, as authors, always struggling to put ourselves back in that child's mindset. What do you do to make sure that you're taking on a perspective that actually reflects a child's point of view when you're writing your stories?
Hey, storytellers! If you're still juggling Word docs, sticky notes, and 47 browser tabs to keep your story straight, it's time to simplify your writing life. Meet Scrivener, the writing software built by writers for writers. Whether you're drafting a novel, a picture book, or even a dissertation, Scrivener helps you organize your scenes, research, and revisions all in one beautifully structured workspace.
Many of our guests on the Storyteller Shelf podcast have raved about Scrivener and how it completely changed their writing flow. You can move chapters around with a click, store your notes right next to your draft, and even set word count goals that actually keep you motivated.
Curious? Check out our affiliate link. It helps support the show at no extra cost to you. And let us know if you give it a try. We'd love to hear how it helps your writing process.
I'm gonna tell you a little story. So, this particular story is from a Sanskrit epic called Mahabharat. The guru, the teacher, he one day decides to test archery skills of all his princely students. So, he invites them. He puts a wooden bird on top of a branch of a tree and he invites them to test their archery skills, right? So he invites student number one, and he asks a question. What do you see? So the student aims at the object, the wooden bird, and he answers the question. He says, "I see the wooden bird. I see the branches. I see the trees. I see the sky." So he he's not impressed. The guru is not impressed. He asks another student, "So what do you see?" He pretty much says the same thing. The bird, the branches, sky, everything around it. Again, guru is not impressed. Then finally, Arjun, the student, comes and he asks the same question. What do you see? He says, "I only see the eye of the bird." And the guru is very impressed. He says, "Okay, now you can release the arrow." The student releases the arrow, and of course, you know where it hits. It hits at the bird's eye, precisely. That's the focus. So, the reason I tell you about this story is we, as an authors, we need to have the same kind of laser focus, identifying the audience we are writing for so that we kind of build a boundary around our writing it, and then within that constraint we write, we experiment, we connect with the audience we are writing for. Yeah, we are a picture book authors, we write for children. First thing is age, which is so much easy, right? Picture books are supposed to be for children, even though we say it's for everybody, which they are 0 to 99 years old. But pretty much we define the age as between 4 to 8 years old. Few years more here and there, but pretty much that's the age. So what it does is it helps me focus that the main character will be of a similar age, right? So that is pretty easy when we start. So age group is good. Then another thing I would say is trying to put, like you mentioned, that trying to put yourself in their shoes, empathy. You have to see, once you know the age, what the child feels, what are the emotions, what are the challenges they go through, what makes them laugh, what all those things. Just trying to be empathetic and that's when you will be able to write stories that would connect with the right audience.
So, my question is, what strategies do you use to ensure that your writing is age appropriate? And, based on that, what is one of the biggest challenges that comes to mind when you've been writing, and how do you overcome that?
Okay, first to answer your part A, which is the strategy. I always picture my kids in that age, but they're teenagers now. But I always, when I'm writing, I always visualize if all the books are laid out in front of them, will they pick up my book? So that is one thing I always think while writing. It is there in back of my mind because my children, I know if there is a lesson in the book, they will reject it. They will not. They're like, oh, there's a moral. I'm not taking that book. So I know those are the things that are in my mind while I'm writing. That okay, there has to be a lesson. Not every book has to have a lesson, but if there is a lesson, it has to be so carefully sneaked in that they won't even realize that there is a lesson. So I know that is true because I've seen my kids reject books because outright like, oh, that's a lesson, not taking it. So that's one thing. Then another strategy is observing other children. Observing my nieces, nephews, other children, that how they react to situations, what are the fun phrases they say, they talk about, observing kids in the playground while doing story time in the library. So observation is another technique that helps to identify the way to improve on writing for the right audience. I would also say there are some blogs, research on internet, just finding out how reading about what challenges children of that age are facing. Then there is one more thing, which is watching some TV episodes that kids of that age group watch. So what it does is it wires your brain. You are in tune with what children watch, what issues are happening, and it ends up giving me some ideas too. So those are the few things I remember. If I think of something else, I'll just add it while we are talking.
Authors sometimes, I think we get a little caught in our own minds and we get a little stuck in the process of writing. And it's nice to change it up and consume something that is outside of the written word for inspiration and for guidance. Because at the end of the day, although it pains us to admit it, books are a form of entertainment.
Absolutely. It's so cool. Those tiny, simple stories. Wow. I just love them.
As authors, we like to connect with other authors, and something that's very big right now and probably will continue to be, especially the more that societies like SCBW are bringing us together, is that we like to comment on each other's work and we like to share our work so that we can get constructive criticism back. That being said, have you been the beta tester for anyone's manuscripts recently? And if so, I'd love to know if you thought you were seeing any particular mistakes that were trending in writers on how to target an age group.
I work with a bunch of critique groups, and we critique each other's work. The only thing I can say is, if for authors who are new to writing picture books, it is very normal to add more words, or it comes with practice, right? Writing for children. But otherwise, uh, I'm not seeing anything as trend, but something like leaving space for the illustrator, having a conflict that is more of an adult conflict and not of a child. It comes with practice. While I was starting at that time, I did a lot of uncool things, by the way, waiting for people, trying just to connect, doing a lot of uncool things. So, one of you can say, not the mentor, but somebody experienced in writing in this work area, she told me that keep working on your craft, and when you are ready, success will find you. Not in that I'm paraphrasing our conversation at a coffee shop, but this is what I got out of our conversation, that keep working on your craft. Don't be after, like, I'm not finding an agent, I'm not done this. So that is one thing. So authors, when they're starting out, it is absolutely okay with the mistakes that you were saying, not leaving space for the illustrator or too much words. It's all part of the journey. I also did it when I was starting out. So you realize, you learn from it, you grow, and then when you are ready, you will find success. By success, I mean whatever success means to you, you will get to it.
Beautifully said. So, your books, they do celebrate your culture in such beautiful ways and accessible ways. And I'd love if you could give some advice to people who are trying to write more about their culture in their book. What are the small pieces of information that help make that resonate to readers who are not used to your culture?
So I'll take a step back. And for listeners who do not know, I was born and raised in India, and I moved to the US after my marriage. So, and second thing, before even answering the question, I want to say is what really culture is. Culture is a mix of lot of things, seen and unseen things. Like, culture is about food, language, even the way you were brought up, your surroundings, your society. All of those things form a culture. And that culture gives a writer a unique lens. It colors the lens through which you see the world. And that is what gives a unique voice. This is who I am, right? This is how I was raised. I am bilingual. I speak Hindi and English, and English is my second language. So many things. This is all me. So when a writer writes a book, a piece of the writer is always there in any of the story they write. So now, with that in mind, my first book, the debut, is The Leaping Laddoo. So this idea of the story was brewing inside me for a very, very long time. It came to me when my kids were toddlers. Imagine, now they're teenagers. So that's how long. So the idea came to me because I would travel to India every year with them. And for those who do not know, the flight to India is very, very long. Imagine traveling with two toddlers in 24-hour plus flight. I used to do that, and I read in mommy parenting books that you have to prepare children in advance for what is about to come. That helps ease their anxiety. And so I would prepare them that, okay, we are going to India. As soon as you come out of the airport, the streets will be noisy. You'll see a lot of cars honking, this everything. I would just paint a picture for them. And that is when the idea was planted. I was like, would it be amazing if there was a book about it, so that somebody else who needs something like this, like a mom who going to India, won't it be helpful for the children? So that's when the idea was planted. But I didn't know how to convert it in a story at that time. It was just an idea, nothing else was happening. And after many years, when I was making laddus. Laddu is a round shaped Indian dessert. So I was shaping laddus for my son's birthday, and one laddu fell out of my hand. And that is when it was a aha moment, and I thought about Indian gingerbread and everything came together. It was that moment, right? The idea, and I had the imagery in my mind very clearly, and I thought it would be perfect for this cumulative story. So that's how this book came into being. The first one, The Leaping Laddoo, sprinkled with Hindi words and introducing streets of India, to the readers. So that was my first book. And then the second book, which is titled Cooler Than Lemonade. The idea came to me, it was inspired by my younger son. He came to me and he said he would like to open a kulfi stand at a farmer's market. So, kulfi is a frozen Indian dessert, pretty similar to ice cream. And I make it quite often during summer season. So he was super excited. He's like, "Oh, not many people know about it. I would love to have a kulfi stand at a farmer's market." And that's when suddenly I thought that it would be a great idea for a book to introduce children to entrepreneurial concepts. So I just noted the idea at that time, and the initial draft that I wrote was set up in the farmer's market, and there was a lot of mom in the picture. In my drafts, I always do that. That is one thing. I have to remove it later on in my revisions. I plant myself everywhere. So anyway, so that was the second book, Cooler Than Lemonade, which uh, is about a spunky character who wants to open a lemonade stand ultimately, who opens a lemonade stand and encounters stiff competition and transitions to kulfi, the ice cream. So that was the inspiration for my second book. And then my third book, which is a level reader called A Sweet Diwali. Like I mentioned earlier, for early readers, I was thinking about stories that could have more sequence, like other books as well, potential for other books. So I was looking for stories that would help me do that, and I always have lots of stories about my childhood pet dog. Always. I would you ask me, and I can really say so many things. He's a little dog with a big personality. So came about A Sweet Diwali, which is a story about friendship between a little girl and her tiny dog called Lion in the book. So that was the genesis of A Sweet Diwali. So, like I said, culture just came in because that's who I am. Um, that's just part of me. That's organically part of the stories that I write.
Yeah. So I think a lot of us were trying to find a way to stand out more and to make sure that people understand why our stories from our culture are important. But I think the best advice is not to get so lost in how to pitch that, but just really stay true to yourself and just be you when you're writing. And if you're writing on your experience, write on your experience and try not to stress too much beyond that.
That's true. So draw from your heart. So if you're true to your stories, readers will know it, and they will find a deep connection with it.
We'll throw in a little challenge here for anyone listening. If you have some time, write from the heart and leave us 2 sentences below on what came to mind. No extra thinking though, you just have to do it. It's one of those writing exercises where you can't plan and prep ahead. All right, when it comes to vocabulary choices, particularly in leveled readers, do you have any advice for people trying to keep it simple? And again,
trying to readopt that child mindset.
This episode of the Storyteller Shelf podcast is brought to you by Harney and Sons Fine Teas, a perfect companion to every story. Whether you're reading, writing, or just enjoying a quiet moment to yourself, Harney and Sons offers a beautiful selection of teas to elevate this experience. From classic blends to unique finds, every cup is crafted with care, just like the stories we love to share. Shop harney.com/discount/storyteller, and Storyteller is in all caps. Now let's get back to the show.
There are some rules that govern level readers. I would say writers who are curious about level readers and who want to explore the genre, I would urge them to take some classes. The one that I took was from Highlights Foundation. That really helped me. So they guide you about short sentences, about the word count, and how to go about writing an early reader. And another thing, besides taking class, is pick up bunch of books from your local library, or if you prefer buying it, do whatever, but read a lot of early readers. So you will be able to see how different it is and how differently the author has written it as compared to picture books. So the challenge in early readers is that even though it's early readers, simple vocabulary, so many things, but what I found really challenging is to maintain the delicate balance, because you have to balance the vocabulary, you have to take care of the word count, you have to take care of the sentence structure, the way it's gonna appear on the page versus, and also still have a plot, engaging plot for children to dive into, right? So just having all that delicately balanced was a lot of challenge for me. But that's the exciting part, right? That's the exciting part. The challenge is exciting.
Let me pick your brain again as you, the author. Are you a person who likes to structure and write out plot lines before you start writing, or are you someone who likes to just begin writing and see where the writing takes them?
Second one, I am impromptu. I just like, the only thing I do is write the idea. Any kind of idea. It could come in as a title, it could come in as a particular phrase, anything that catches my fancy, because I keep telling my brain I'm open to ideas. So anything, that's what I write it in my notepad. And after that, once I'm on my laptop, wherever the story takes me. So yeah, I'm not organized that way. Everybody is wired differently. It's just that I'm just wired to do things like in just the way it is, just keep going with the flow. But for me, I know personally that when I do it, story doesn't come out the way I want, at least the first time. Like I was talking about planting myself in every picture. It requires so many re-revisions, and the plot structure changes to so many things happen in between. But maybe someday I'll learn and be a better planner. But for now, this is what I'm sticking to.
We here allow everyone your creative freedom. So sometimes you might grow in one way, and sometimes you might be exactly where you're supposed to be. All right. If you could give one piece of advice to our listeners, what would you give them?
I would say, because this is for writing for the right audience, I would say define your bird's eye and write something that speaks to the audience. Remember the bird's eye, the story I told you. So keep your audience in your mind whenever you are writing. And if you're writing for picture books are very unique children's books, because you have to cater to two audience, not just one, right? One is kids, of course, and also to adults, because adults are the buyers. So for me personally, put myself in the picture and say, will I pick up that book for my children? So when you're writing, keep that in mind. Bird's eye focus to the audience that you're writing for, write from your heart, and it would help you connect with your right audience.
Thank you for watching the Storyteller Shelf podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss new insights from emerging authors, illustrators, and publishing professionals. Your support truly helps our show grow. And if you'd like to support us directly, visit our Ko-fi page and click Buy Me a Ko-fi. Thanks again for tuning in.